Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to make your first step towards explosive business growth, this is the right podcast for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Susie.
Welcome to Power Your Profit podcast. I am your host, Susie Carder, your profit coach, and today's guest is Mario Fachini. He's a high school educated, college dropout, never having to be in college or having a formal education or never having a real job. He spent years as a dead broke web designer, wasting too much time chasing down the wrong clients. We've all done that. Believing in his heart that the sky was the limit, but waking up every day feeling like, because of his background, that limited the sky. So until he refined and enhanced the publishing and promotion process of his first book to attract prospects with little effort using the tools and knowledge that he already had in place with his own business, he was able to create one of the most sought out publishing companies. Please welcome my guest, Mario. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us this morning, Mario.
Susie, it's a great day to be alive. I'm so excited to share with your audience.
Okay, I always start with, so we did your formal bio and that's sexy and that's great, but let's talk about what's your badass list, right? So why should we listen to you? What gems are you going to share? Like, what is your secret sauce? What makes you amazing in business? Like, this is your time to shine and brag just a little bit. I know it's uncomfortable for us to do that, but it's important for us to hear, right, your story and why you are who you are and why you're passionate about what you do.
Susie, I've always had this passion for helping people. And I think it started at a young age from being, I guess you would say, the odd kid or the one who was kind of left out or picked on or whatever. It's like, I think we all go through that phase where it's like, who are we becoming? What are we doing? And I just always noticed, even though it wasn't in an official capacity, people would just talk to me and people just wanted to share. And I enjoyed helping them and just giving them insight into everything. And this was long before self-help books and everything. But one of the things that always helped me was books, being able to just pick something up, and whether it was for pleasure, reading a story just for fun, or if it was to learn something. I hesitate to say personal or professional. I'm 8 here, 10, 12, whatever the case is. It wasn't really professional, even though I did start my first business at 12. I wasn't into the self-help until late high school. I could even argue early college. And I just knew what I liked. And it was helping people, giving them some encouragement. I guess we would call it adding value, just making the world better. And I know what it felt like to be left out. And I guess I didn't want it for people. So I also never wanted to work a job.
Yes.
I always wanted to own my calendar, be able to help people. It was own my own calendar, make my own hours, work for myself, and make good money. And I was like, a job really doesn't hit any of those. So like I mentioned, I started my first business at 12, sold that to start this one when I was in college. And I haven't really looked back since, but there's different things I've done over the years. It's all based around marketing. But when I started putting the pieces together, not only going, hey, I like reading books, these are a great way to help people, I was like, I really have a knack for bringing out people's essence. I call it extracting your expertise. So all the people I helped in high school, just talking to them, having a fun conversation, people would come to me and share things they wouldn't tell anyone. And I realized, while I've never shared anything that someone asked me to keep private, I'm not referring about sharing that. I just realized this is a skill set not everyone has. So I've used it for business to learn more about businesses and go deeper with the messaging, and ultimately how to put it into a book that you can leverage to, give to prospects, to sell it to people, to sell from stage, and just get your message out there and share your expertise with a wider range of people, because you're awesome, I'm awesome, but there's no way we're doing 1,000 significant phone calls this week.
Right.
I mean, do you think you could pull that off?
No, that's why I speak. So instead of doing 1,000 significant phone calls, I'll do an event and be able to impact thousands of people through an event, through a book, through our ads, through our videos, through our YouTube. Just really trying to do the same thing, right? I think we're kindred
Same
spirits in
message,
that.
better ways to leverage it.
Yes. So who do you serve? Like, who's that ideal qualified client for you, and what are we supporting them in? What's your
So
primary
I
business?
love helping everyone, but not everyone is a good fit. Okay. It
Mhm.
might not be me. There's tons of great people out there. It might not be my personality. I don't think it's a bad one, but there's always that factor.
I know some
Generally,
people don't like me. I don't understand.
I don't understand that either because I think you're great. I couldn't wait to come on here. It's not people that are generally, I have a caveat on this. It's generally not people that are just in business for the first time, brand new. However, there have been some exceptions to the rule who maybe they worked in corporate America at a high level career for 20 years in the same core competency. And they said, forget this, I'm starting my own thing. And now they are an entrepreneur. And you could argue it's their first year, but the reality is they have decades of experience. So the person I'm generally looking for is the one going, I've done all this stuff. I still feel like I'm not fully leveraged. I want to serve more of that heart and purpose. They just don't know the steps because,
Right.
like anything, there's a lot of steps to publishing. And I'm not looking for someone that needs to be sold on why a book is a good thing. I'm looking for someone who goes, I know they're good. Everyone has one. I've always thought about it. I just don't know what to do. Perfect. We'll do it for you.
And so talk about that experience, because a lot of people say, and I've hired people in the past, it's done for you, it's turnkey, and then you get in and it's like, this is not turnkey, this is not done for you. So share what your process is and how do you help us be not just published authors but best-selling authors, right? You're really about helping us leverage that book, really make money with the book, right? Because we always tell our students, you got to have a book, but a book is an expensive business card, right? So you're really teaching at that next level as well of monetizing and leveraging it. So how do you do that?
So there's something on there I'm glad you brought up, and it's the bestseller component because it seems like now everyone under the sun, everyone and their brother, everyone and their cousin, whatever you want to say, everyone's a publisher now. And while I'm glad there's more people that want to serve, I would hope, being very optimistic here, but I've never led with, I will make you a bestseller. I've never led with, I'm going to do this for you. Again, if you're already at a certain level and you genuinely go, I have this massive audience of people, whatever size that might be to you, and you really just want to serve them more. I personally feel the second you have the book in your hands,
Look,
that's the
I'm reading the
big,
title. I'm reading the title.
that's the biggest leverage point
Yes.
you can have. So I think too many people get caught up on, oh, I'm a this bestseller, I'm a this, I'm a that. I've had people on my show that are New York Times bestsellers, and they flat out told me they're like, it did not make or break the business. It added to it, however.
Yes.
And I go, how much do you think it was the actual best-selling status versus you literally just got your book in the hands of 10 to 20,000 people? They're like, the jump came from, I'm serving more people in a higher leveraged way. Same thing with Barnes and Noble, Wall Street, USA Today, Amazon, all that. I have 2 times international bestseller, whatever. It's not the make or breaker. So I've never sold, I will do that for you. I'm like, I will help you get your book published with my team. And if it so happens that, and we have strategies and a good amount of people have done it. I mean, yeah, it's a good goal. I enjoyed receiving it, but at the same time, I don't sell it, if that makes sense. And there's so many
Yeah,
people who
it's
lead with
strategy.
that. Yeah,
Right.
there's so many people who lead with it. And I'm like, the second one of them changes the algorithm, you're toast. And the
Right.
sad thing is, before 10 or 20 years ago, no one really cared. I don't think 100 years ago when Napoleon Hill was writing Think and Grow Rich, he's like, I'm doing this so I can have another star for status. No, I think he legitimately wanted to help people and have a way to pass on the knowledge. So we go through the process, and obviously, like I had shown, you got to have a cover design. We got to get a title. One of the core things, and again, I downplay this. It's kind of a dime a dozen. Like, there's a lot of great graphic designers out there that could probably help you with a cover, but there's not a lot of people who, again, can extract your expertise in a way where it's easy for you that you can turn it into something else. And that's one of the things I've always prided myself on, whether it's just a normal conversation or we're actually going through a project or just having fun or whatever. It's like, let me learn. It's why I love EA interviews. I get to talk to cool people like yourself and go, let me dive deeper with that. Let's talk about that a little bit further. Tell me more about that. It's going that 5-10 levels deep, if not more. Personally, I don't trust anything unless it's got 20 revisions on it. So we polish it in a way where it's easy for you to say, okay, here's what I want to share, but you don't need to sit there for 12 to 16, 18, 24 months, just constantly working on it, because I specialize in business book publishing.
Right.
We don't have that kind of time. And even if you magically could fold time, you're like some Einstein quantum physics person, look at all the people we could be helping in that time. It's like, this has to get done and out there too. So I bridge the gap on, the professionalism, but also where it's not going to take you 2 years.
2 years. My first book in 1995 took me 7 years, right? Because I did not know what I was doing, right? I had to figure it out myself back in the day. Like, we're looking, 26 years ago, which is scary. There wasn't you, right? There wasn't people that really helped you. It was kind of, you had to figure it out, and in my industry, we had one publisher, and I got denied by the publisher and went, well,
that's
now
a whole other thing.
Whole nother thing, right? So we self-published, and I ended up creating my own publishing company, but it took me 7 years to write the first book. One, because I didn't know how. Two, I was trying to fit it into my schedule as I had a training and development company. I had a second business, right? We had a real estate development company. So I had these companies, and then when are you writing a book, right? And then not knowing how, right? Just not even understanding, right? How do you go to Congress of Library? How do you, the graphic design? Bestseller, I didn't even know anything about that. I just looked at like, now I got to sell it. So
it wasn't pushback then. And I think it's kind of a good thing, because with business, it's easy. Like, if you never got awards in school, it's easy to start a business and go, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. But at the end of the day, my one caveat, I mean, we literally can help anyone, but my one caveat is, do you genuinely want to serve your audience? If I get the slightest inkling someone's doing this just for another notch on the wall or star on the wall or whatever, see ya.
Right. Well, the reality, when I look back, the minute I published the book, my speaking fees were able to go up. I got booked more. My credibility went through the roof. Right. I didn't even know that was part of the strategy. My client said, "Do you have a book? We need you to get a book. If you write a book, we'll buy it." Right. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do that. Let me go figure it out and I'll get back to you. So I think now, looking at, I'm just speaking, my Power Your Profits is book number 10, because it was always a tool to leverage what I was teaching. So when I left, there was something there for them to implement. So it's such a powerful tool for credibility, such a powerful tool to raise your fees, such a powerful tool for gaining influence. It's a great sales strategy, sending a book. But if you're going to send a book with a purpose. I get so many books, Mario, I'm sure you do too. They just send the book, like not what I want to do, like, hey, could you take a picture and post on social media? Hey, can you read it and give me your feedback? Hey, just want to thank you for the interview. I just get books in the mail. I'm like, did I order this? I don't think I ordered this, right? No, like, let's have some intentionality around it, right?
Yeah, I like it when you mark the pages and say, oh, sign it. You really like page 3679 of 142, and it's like, here's what we talked about, and it's something that relates to the thing. To that end, I feel fancy, I'm using English. To your point, you're talking about, it's able to increase your credibility, public speaking, and all everything you mentioned. I talk about that in the book. The root word of authority is author. I don't think there's anyone that has a book or has ever had a book or will in the future that someone looks at them and goes, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. If you took the time to get it out there, even if it wasn't fantastically done, which I don't recommend, but the reality is you took some time, energy, and money and did something more than a LinkedIn or Facebook post to make that happen.
Right.
No matter what, it's going to raise you up. The question is how much, because
Right.
I see some that it's like, okay, congrats, sincerely. Like if this is where you're at, this is where you're at. But at the same token, it's also the flip side of the coin going, oh, this is your brand, because that whole thing is under a giant spotlight. Like you took the time, it's a better thing to do, but how well did you do it? Now we're going to scrutinize you, just like videos and movies. We're so conditioned to see A-list actors in big budget films. It's like someone, maybe it's their dream to do their first film. Again, good for them, but we know what the standards are. And it's like, if you're too far away from that, it can actually hurt you even more.
Right. Yes. Make sure it's really quality. Right. Don't just throw something together to throw it together. Because again, I think that's for that check. Check. I'm an author. Right. Check.
Or just keep it as an ebook. That's a thing I noticed. Oh, I've got 5 books of my own. I go check them out. It's like there's no audiobook, there's no print version, and the print version's kind of if there is. Most people just stick it with an audiobook because it's easier, it's cheaper, and it's faster.
So
it's
let's
that
talk
commitment
about,
level again.
Right. If you're going to go in, right? Put a campaign.
Well, I went to 1 year of college. It's good for you. So what?
Right. Well, I went to no years of college, so that's good for me. But I do have my PhD, which is my public high school diploma. So.
Oh, I'm borrowing that. I do not have a degree or anything either. I went a few more years than that, but people equate it. It's that finalization. And I remember someone telling me, I go, does it mean they're smarter? They're like, no, it just means they committed and followed through. I'm like, that's something in and of itself,
That is. And if you look at both of us, right, we're entrepreneurs. So we have a ton of education. I have a ton of education. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education, just not traditional, right? Don't sit me in a
100%.
classroom. I'm ADD, which is my superpower. So.
And we also didn't stop after college.
No, we keep going. So let's talk about your podcast and, why did you start a show, right? So you have the books, right? Your credibility, the show. Let's talk about, because a lot of people want to write a book, start a show, but there's no intentionality around it. It's just like, I have a podcast. Okay, so what, right? So let's talk about your show, why you started it, and how you're leveraging that to support what you're up to in the world.
Again, it was to help more people.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to help more people. I always knew there's more inside me. And some of this stuff was my own personal head trash holding me back, admittedly. And I lost my dad Good Friday of 2017.
I'm so sorry.
And thank you. It kind of rocked everything in my world. And for a while, it was kind of like, what am I doing? And, I felt lost. And it was a little bit later, like a year later, I was like, you know what? I'm still here. And I was young at the time. And I was like, I still am. Just for the record, I didn't like, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Because it just felt like everything was gone, truthfully. And I remember being at church one Sunday, and the guest pastor was talking about, are you honoring God in your work? And I was like, kind of, maybe, like I'm trying to sell myself on yes, but the fact that I was doing it, I knew the answer was no. And I go, what am I going to do for this next stage of my life? I go, you know what? How about everything I've ever hesitated on? I had already done multiple books at that point. So it wasn't like that was the thing for me at the time, even though it very well could be for someone else. But I will tell you that they're very beneficial. The show was like, this is my, the show, video, and publishing. These are 3, public speaking. These are 3-4 ways that all are very synergistic. And it's the one I had missing that I had contemplated. We were actually producing, multiple shows for other people over the years, in addition to the publishing, because I'm a public speaker and I knew a lot of other authors and speakers, and, I have a great team and we could help them. But I go, you know what? I'm going to connect the world. I'm going to do this. And it freaked me out more than the publishing did. And I failed English 7 times. But I saw it as a way to really connect with more great people like you and bring everyone together so we can have a bigger impact and really make a difference. And I go, I got to do this. And I'm happy to say that was years ago and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes ago. But I remember episode 0, or I think it's 0. Yeah, the trailer, you will hear me freaked out crying. Like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I feel led to do it.
Right.
And I'm so glad I did.
That's awesome. So let's talk about, there's so many people right now. I have clients that are still kind of waiting for this pandemic to get over. It makes me laugh. Like it's not getting over. Businesses change. Catch up, catch up, catch up, right? So how has your business, right? And there's always a pandemic, right? There's always something in the world that, can stop us as entrepreneurs, from a financial collapse to a recession to depression to a health crisis. So what have you been doing to stay active and your clients engaged and still growing your business inside of the tumultuous times?
I would say going deeper. Again, it goes back to that serving and adding value. If it's someone you meet for the first time, instead of just, oh, I'll get around to connecting with them, do it quicker. If it's a client you have existingly, is that a word? It is now. If it's a client you have existingly, follow up with them a little bit more. If you talk to them once a year, maybe make it twice. If it's twice a year, maybe make it quarterly. I'm always looking for ways to serve and add value to people. I don't really care if it's a client or someone I meet or this or that or the other thing. Obviously, you have to know your sales numbers and know what your goals are and your unit cost and all these different things. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's some people who are so focused on that, they lose the human side. And then there's other people who are so focused on the human side, they never take one iota of a second to go, what is my strategy here? What am I doing going into this next quarter, the next year, the next whatever, whether it's sales, the book, the show, this or the other thing, they're just kind of doing stuff. Yes. And that's better than nothing, because hopefully they'll meet someone like you who can set them on the right track at some point. You can't move a parked car, but at the same point, if you're trying to drive cross country and you don't know where you're going, it might take you a long time to get there if you ever do.
Love it. Okay, so what I love about this show is we get to get real, right? Which you've been very transparent and very real. So thank you for sharing that. And I think my biggest learning lessons in life have been the things that have been our biggest challenge, our biggest failure, right? So what's been your biggest failure? And then what did you learn from that experience?
Biggest failure, everything I've tried.
One.
If we're being honest here, I would say not trusting myself sooner. If there's one thing I can't get back, it's time. And there's things on my heart I'm bringing to fruition now that have been on my heart for the better part of 10 or 20 years. A lot of them I have moved forward with, but there are still things I'm like, why did I hesitate? And some of the times it was people I was close to that aren't even around anymore, or other well-meaning people that I trusted at the time who still saying the same trash to me. I'm past it, but it did affect me at the time. So if you started a business after 12 or in college, good for you, because you probably had the mental and emotional wherewithal to be at a better place to be able to do it quicker. And if you didn't at the time, good for you for starting young. But at the end of the day, people are going to say stuff, whether it's in business, out of it, and you just have to go, do I trust myself more or them? And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I believe if you trust yourself, you'll at least learn faster. But surround yourself with good people who can show you the way and guide you, so you don't need to learn it on your own. That's experience, but I like wisdom, learning from others' mistakes, not my own.
Exactly. Well, and you're going to spend the money anyways, right? You just might spend it in not having the sales, or in your breakdown, or your failure. So I really look at who's playing 10 times bigger than me, who can really look at me and just go, don't do that, do this, don't do that, do this, right? That shaves that learning curve off. Absolutely. And I think there's also that, you said that wisdom is when I've waited and beat myself up, right? The reality is it was the perfect time when I finally did it, whatever it was, right? So me giving myself permission to not, beat myself up and go, oh, okay, here's why I waited. So much more knowledge, so much more connection, so much more community to hit the ground running versus that huge trial and error and learning curve. So thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome. And it's one of the things when we're going through the publishing process, because there's a lot of stuff that gets dug up. For me, my first book, I had failed English 7 times. Who am I to write a book?
Right.
Forget the bestseller thing. That's not even on my radar, but I just want to get through this thing. And it was such a transformational process. It's one reason I fell in love with it, to be able to give that transformation to other people, because no matter what it is, maybe you don't have the same background, but there's something, one of my clients, Lori, she lost her hand at 9 in a meat grinder. She had never told anyone in like decades. And we were on the phone for one of the sessions, and I go, how are you feeling? We're now into the writing. And she goes, I tell you what, I feel like there's this weight that's been lifted off me. I feel like I no longer have to hide. Like I'm naked and vulnerable with the world. And it feels so freeing, because even the people closest to her didn't know she had a prosthesis. And
Wow.
we published this. I'm thinking back, this is like 2014. The book is Taking My Hand Out of My Pocket. And it was very revealing. And like, there's people that showed up at her launch party and they were like, I've known her 30 years and I had no clue.
Wow. That's awesome.
So there's always things that it might not be that, it might not be this, but everyone has their own thing they're hiding from.
Yeah.
And it generally always comes up in the process somehow, because I think subconsciously your body knows you're now making this available to thousands and tens of thousands of people, and you can't talk your way out of it. If you're really good at sales or just conversing in general, I think there's a comfort level of, oh, well, I didn't mean it this way. What I really meant was, and you go, oh, I understand. There's none of that. You have no safety net. And it's why I love it, because if you're doing it, you did something right.
Right. I love it. So if you could be remembered for one thing, Mario, what would that one thing be?
The first thought that came to my mind is kindness, but I don't know if that's too cliche or something. But at the end of the day, I think there's so many evil and bad people and stuff in the world. I think we could all use a little bit more hope and kindness.
I don't think it's cliche at all. It says a lot about your character.
Well, thank you.
So what's one question you wish I would have asked you?
You've done a really good job, but I would ask about the live streaming and the video.
So let's talk about it. Share with us the benefits of live streaming and videoing.
So this is one of the toughest questions. There's 2 tough questions. Well, there's a lot I've had in my life, but one of them was, do you enjoy being in front of the camera or behind the camera? Because when I was studying video production and special effects animation, I was also modeling and acting at the time. So it was like some days I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I'm setting up the shot. And then there's other days where it was kind of like this, where it's like, I just show up and it's like, I'm here. I'm like,
Right.
There's benefits to each. And I've always loved just being able to visualize what I'm thinking. And now with live streaming, now with video production, actually since forever with video production, now with live streaming, even though that's been around 20 years, most people don't realize it's another medium. So to the same point of before, in front of or behind the camera, the question people ask now is, okay, you love video publishing and now podcasting. They go, which one's the best out of all of them? And I go, they're all different mediums to share
Right.
your message, but I'm still going with publishing, because once that's done, I never need to go back and touch it again. With a show, you got to keep going on. With video, you might have to change it, tweak it. And again, if you put one video on anywhere, is it really going to last? It will last in perpetuity, but unless you're doing a series of them regularly, consistently, it's not going to stand out in today's world. The book still will.
What I love about that, and one of the hacks that I do, my book is my manuscript, right? That's my scripts. I don't have to go, oh, what am I going to teach? I just, how much content, if you look at the average video
For
and
sure.
our attention span is 5 to 7 minutes, that's it, right? If you look at TikTok, it's less than 3 minutes. We're like, So you got to get in there. So how much content, because people are, I don't know what to say about, quit inventing new stuff. Use the stuff you have and share from your books. Like if I've got 10 books, like there's a ton of content in there.
And
that
it's
I
your
can
best
just-
stuff.
Right. That you
It's not like,
really
oh, I
thought
need to
about.
reinvent the wheel. You already put the time, energy, and money into it. I love just opening up, going, oh, today's chapter 6 kind of day. We're going to talk about this.
Exactly. Makes it so much easier. Like that is just genius. I built a multi-million-dollar company doing that. Just repurpose, 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 repurpose. And then what do I do in coaching? Repurpose. This
And
system
that's the
works.
thing
Use
people
this.
don't realize about going deeper, like an inch wide and a mile deep. Everyone's going, oh, I need more content. I need more content. Why not optimize what you have to the
Right.
point of show notes? There's a lot of shows that have more episodes than me. I'm approaching quickly, though. It's getting less and less, but there's a lot of shows who have been, I'll say that, been around longer. They still have never tweaked the show notes like on a single episode. It's like, so you're going to do another 100 episodes because I kind of consider, your next 100, you're going to do another 100 episodes the exact same way without changing your show flow, asking the audience anything, doing this, tweaking the audio, the video, or even enhancing the links, the visuals, nothing. Well, it seems to be working. Yes, it seems to be, but it's not optimized. There's a
Right.
difference.
Right.
Same with a book. Oh, I'm on my 15th book. I'm on my 20th book. Oh, why didn't you do a better second and third?
Did you
Those,
monetize? Number one. Like, let's look at
yeah,
that. Did it monetize? Who cares if you have a book if you're just not monetizing it,
there's
right?
a
It's
lot of
on the
people who
shelf.
are good at content creation because,
Yeah.
oh, you need to create content. You need to create content. But again, to your point of intention, purpose, and with profit, to what end? I
Yeah.
never set a goal of doing 20 books. Will I probably have 10 or 20 in my lifetime? Yeah. But it's getting easier and easier to do. I'm like, man, I could do a book. I have 3 more in my head already, but they're not really business, but they could be. But the point is, I'm not just doing them for the sake of doing them. I'm very intentional with each one, and each one is a different message and a different audience you're speaking to.
Exactly. So you use a lot of technology in your business. So this is just a fun, like, what's your favorite app or what's your favorite software or business software that you use? Just
That's
one.
that's easy. I've been using Basecamp for over a decade with my team.
Yes.
That's a real easy one.
And that just helps
The
us
other
stay.
99 they're around if you follow my stuff, but I haven't.
Right.
But Basecamp is for sure one that I've told everyone about because it's so great for collaboration. And now in the new version, they've integrated the chat and then other features and uploads. And it's how I got my first book and this one.
Right. Juicy. Well, I appreciate you and I appreciate the gifts that you gave us and the diamonds that you dropped, but we're not done with the gifts or the diamonds. So you have a gift for us, right? A way that we can play with you, find you. So let's talk a little bit about that.
All right. So again, to the point of always adding value and serving. And really, I would love nothing more than to hear everyone who heard this said, I decided to do a book, whether it's with me or someone else, sincerely, just get it out there, get your message and your expertise in the world. And, not everyone qualifies all the time either. So I decided to make a free course on publishing available. And you can get that at the link. And I'm making it available to your audience because I know there's some people who go, while they will listen to the audiobook and get the printed copy, I also like learning. And one thing I look for in authors, and honestly, I've never really revealed this, but people on my show, do they have a book? Do they have a course? Do they have a whatever? Because to your point, if I'm having them on the show and then, you want people to fall in love with them, then what? And it feels like you're just driving them off a cliff if there's nothing else. So it's like, if you're the visual learner, I
Yes.
have a free business book publishing course that will walk people through and be able to go a little bit deeper in real time. It's about an hour's worth of videos and to really get people started if they're serious about it. So there's really no reason, again, remove the excuses. There's really no reason that someone shouldn't be doing it because I know myself, I have plenty available to help people in addition to other stuff that's out there.
So how else do we find you? So we find you at eainterviews.com. Is social media same or by your name, Mario Fachini?
I've went by Mario Fachini on all the social media platforms, and that's really the best way to reach me. And yeah, eainterviews.com.
Mario Fachini. Let me correct that. Fachini. Love that Italian name. That's a good Italian name, right?
Well, I appreciate that.
Mario, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my guest. Thank you for dropping your wisdom. Thank you for giving us such diamonds. And please like, share. If he made a huge difference for you, please share with your community, right? Make sure that everybody knows who he is. He's got some juicy stuff for us. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here today, and have a great day.
Susie, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at https://poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game, so be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.